Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel today. Today I have a 5-hour card. Not really, but this card was a lesson in patience for me. Not anything to do with the products, but just how I wanted to design the card. So I am going to be using a Honeybee Stamps stamp and coordinating die set. This is called Saint Nick, and it's this really big Saint Nick or Santa Claus image, and then lots of different sentiments along with the dies that coordinate with that. So my idea for this card was to do a little bit of a chalkboard background, and so I've got a piece of black cardstock that is cut 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm taking some white pigment ink and just kind of swiping it down the card. And then once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and take a blending tool and blend that out. The reason that I didn't blend the pigment ink onto the black cardstock with the blending tool is because when I tried to do that, it ended up leaving really visible marks of the blending tool, and I couldn't get them to go away. And so I kind of liked the kind of swipe method better because it gives you like almost a little bit of that texture from the swiping, so that it's not completely cloudy, I guess, like a chalkboard. But you can also use distress oxide for this. That would work well. I think it's called Picket Fence. I don't happen to have that color, but if you have white pigment ink, that will work just as well. And so once I have that, again, I'm just blending that out to get it kind of like that messy chalkboard or blackboard look. And then once I have that done, I'm going to set that aside and I will start on my Santa Claus. The Santa Claus gave me so many problems. So mainly with kind of the end part of it, but I decided to go ahead and do a little bit of paper piecing. This is a pretty big image, and I was not super confident in my ability to color the entire image with COPICs, and so I went ahead and opted to grab some different papers from my stash and do a little bit of paper piecing. And so I went ahead and I grabbed the pieces that I wanted to use. I actually showed 3 papers. I only used 2 of them. I didn't like kind of that cream colored paper that I was going to end up using for like the trim around the arms. So I'm using the red for the main portion of the Santa suit and then the black for the belt. I was going to use it for the hands as well, but found that if I was going to do that, it would have blended too much into like the belt area. And so I just ended up coloring that. And so once I have the image stamped up on the pattern paper, I'm going to do my fussy cutting, and it was a little bit difficult just because of the pattern. It kind of messed with my eyes a little bit cutting that out. But I went ahead and I cut it out and I dry fit everything onto the image that I have already stamped. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut out the belt area. And once I have all of my main pieces cut out, I'm going to take the die that cuts out Saint Nick, and I'll go ahead and cut that out. And then I'm going to start gluing and adding my paper piecing pieces into the stamped image. I don't know why I didn't cut out the edge of this piece that you see hanging off of the side, but I just go ahead and take my scissors and trim that piece off. So I'll go ahead and finish kind of gluing all of my pieces. The tweezers really help to kind of fit those pieces in where you need to fit them in, and then any excess paper that's hanging over a little bit, I go ahead and cut off. So I've got all of my pieces glued in there. And then there's this little white space that the die doesn't cut out. So I just went ahead and I took my scissors and cut that piece out. And then I'm going to do a little bit of Copic coloring for some of the smaller areas. So for the holly, I am using the Copic Chows in the colors G07, YG09, and G14. Just doing really simple coloring. I like going in my darkest first for the most part. and then going in with the lighter colors. And then for the berries, I'm using R59 because I thought it matched really well with the Santa suit. And then for the face area, I am using E02 mainly on the cheeks and kind of the nose and the mouth area. And then for the face, E51 and E50. And so I'll go ahead and color those up. I do color up the beard and the eyebrows and that later on. And then once I'm done with the face, I move on to coloring. What I wanted to color was the gloves of Santa, and I wanted to color the trim white, so lighter grays. So what I ended up doing is I start coloring this, and then I realized right now that I made a mistake and I meant to color the glove with that color. So I'll end up fixing that several times later on, but for the gloves I'm going to start out with C3 and then go in with 100, which is the black, and then blend that out with a C7. So I'll go ahead and color both of the gloves in this, and then I'm going to assemble my card because at this point I have already finished it, I think, and I cut a bunch of that out because it was a mistake, but I'll show you where the mistake was made. But I'm going to go ahead and mat this on a piece of red cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I actually wanted to mat it again on this pattern piece of paper, and so the actual card is going to be a little bit bigger than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I added some foam to Santa, and I'm going to pop him up. And then I'm going to add some embellishments to Santa's buttons on his jacket there. And so I'm using some Pinkfresh Studios glitter drops in the color Ruby. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue and then add those really pretty drops. It gives a nice pop of red. And then I'm going to make another mistake, at least to me. I think it turns out fine, but I added splatter, and when I look at it doing the voiceover, I really like the plain kind of black background without the splatter. And then this is where I think I'm done with my card. I went ahead and I took pictures of it and noticed that there is a lot of streaking from that ink, and I just didn't like it at all. I didn't like that it looked really messy. And so what I had done there was I had stamped up some glitter paper in Memento, and it smeared a lot. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up grabbing another piece of glitter paper as well as a 3D embossing folder from Honeybee Stamps called Kaleidoscope. And so I'm going to redo the areas that were white. And so I did that by stamping up the stamp again on a piece of scrap paper and then just holding it onto that glitter paper and cutting it out and then adding those pieces back in. I did try to do some heat embossing on this glitter paper, but what ended up happening with that is it totally took all of the glitter away. The heat just kind of made it disappear. And so I just ended up taking those 3D embossed pieces and gluing them right over those areas of white, all except for the little ball in the hat, which didn't have any smearing on it. So I left it. But we all have those days, I think, in card making where it just nothing seems to be going your way. And that was kind of this card for me. If you enjoyed the video regardless, and I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. We've got lots of inspiration every week. And that is it. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.